Welcome to Unapologetic and Free.
We are sisters by blood and friends by choice. Child support. And we have been seeing a lot of videos on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok in regards to child support. So today we have two special guests with us. We have my friend, Trey. And then we have my oldest son, Trevon. Welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome. I just want to acknowledge the balance here, y'all. We got two female perspectives, two male perspectives. And so again, I'm looking forward to this. I'm telling y'all now on the front end, I'm going to be playing both sides. I got a bunch of different sides, a bunch of different aspects and perspectives that I'm going to interject here. So please be ready for me.
Don't be getting all mad and in your feelings. Let's just keep it clean and fun. Okay.
Yes. I'm ready.
You ready?
All right. So what we like to do, we always do this segment of our show, and it's called What Are You Watching? We just ask that you share at least a minimum of one show. It could be a show, it could be a movie, it could be a series. And so I'm going to say, Trey, T-A-Y, if you could go first and just let us know what's something that you've been watching.
I've been watching a lot of videos off of TikTok and social media of different aspects of the child support system. There was one where there was a lady that she got a divorce, and the court system was trying to push her to get, well, first of all, her and her husband already had an agreement about child support. But the moment he got remarried and got a better job, they were trying to get her to get an increase. And she was like, when she went to court, she told them, no, I'm good. But they were still trying to push her into getting more money from this man, regardless of the fact that he also has another household, that he got remarried, that he has another household to take care of.
Okay,
so we're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that.
Okay, I'm going to start right there. Right there.
All right.
Ravon, what show have you been watching? Give us one show you've been watching. I might want to check it out.
Well, lately I've been watching shows on National Geographic on animals and how they've been reacting to the new climate. But as far as piggyback off what Trey said, I have seen that TikTok video and everything they were saying in regards to how they were trying to insist that she get an increase. The entire time she was telling them she was fine in every way, but in the midst of her doing that, the feminist community attacked her in multiple different ways based off the fact that she didn't want to get an increase, that she was perfectly fine with spending for her daughter on her own or her child on her own.
That's
okay.
Good.
All right. Well, don't judge me. I am watching P-Valley, the second season. What are you watching?
I can't get into it. So I still really am not watching anything because I haven't had time. But today I did watch an episode of ABC 2020. I like true crime. So if I get a chance, that's typically what I'm going to default to is true crime. So that's what I watched today.
Okay. The Animal Planet we got. I don't have TikTok and I'm not getting TikTok. So no. So let's go ahead and move on in our segment. So we've talked about where the topic is child support. Okay. Let me give you, because I always like to give the textbook definition of what a term is a topic that we're discussing. So the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of child support is payment for the support of the children of divorced or separated parents while the children are minors or as otherwise legally required. That's what the dictionary says, okay? Now, does anyone know when child support was enacted or when it was created? Okay, so child support was enacted. The first federal legislation on private child support was enacted in 1950. 1950?
Wow.
State welfare agencies were required to notify law enforcement officials when a child receiving benefits had been deserted or abandoned.
Wow, 1950 though. Did y'all think that it was that far back, or did you think that it went back farther, or did you think it was not that far?
I kind of figured it went back that far, but and regardless of that, it really didn't. From my understanding, it really didn't take effect until the 1980s of the big baby boomer.
What about you, Trevon?
I didn't think it went back that far. I thought it went back as far as the 70s, if anything. But to go back to the 50s, that lets you know that that's been something that's been in our colony, I just call it that, for a long time now.
Now, what jumped out at me when I saw this, right, it says child receiving benefits have been deserted or abandoned.
And so really, when I think about, and when you say deserted or abandoned, right, that's so vague, especially nowadays, because who decided that the child was abandoned? Who decided that the child was deserted, right? You're just taking, just because somebody breaks up, did that necessarily mean that they were deserted? So I wonder, and I know we don't know because we're not back in 1950, but I just wonder what were the grounds behind saying they were deserted or abandoned?
Now, if you remember, back then, the Black family was the strongest of all the families out there. You had a mother, you had a father that stayed in the house that basically took care of, the father took care of the house and the mother took care of the kids. But remember, when it's about, I say about 81, 82, when it started the big baby boomer, you got to look at it from a politician standpoint. Where can we get the most money from? It all, when you look at it, it all boils down to you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Welfare system, child support system. You scratch mine, I scratch yours. So who are they going to go after? They're going to go after the poverty-stricken neighborhoods. You don't see them going after the rich people.
Right.
Maybe they do, and we just don't hear about it as often as we do in the people of color community.
I think the rich people don't do child support because they put it in their divorce decrees. They call it alimony, and they have these prenups, right? And the rich people put stuff in place before they get married Typically, so they already have something in place, so they don't need to file child support orders. That's what I think.
But how many rich people do you see have a structured household?
Still, it's not about the structure of the household. It's about the money and them not having to go through the child support system because they have lawyers and they have teams that can go ahead and negotiate that, and they don't need to have a child support order.
Okay.
I got something to say with that. The biggest thing with the child support thing when it comes to rich people and middle class people is that middle class people have a harder time paying child support whereas rich people have an easier time paying child support. So when it comes down to child support, they basically are paying money towards a child. And when it comes towards rich people, if you notice, they pay a huge lump sum of child support. And 9 times out of 10, most of the stuff they're paying the child support at that huge lump sum fee isn't even for the child. It could be a 3-year-old and they're paying $30,000 in child support, $20,000 in child support. because she wanted to go do yoga and she has to be doing this and that has nothing to do with anything. That gets annoying. And the only thing about it is when it's flipped vice versa, that's the thing. You rarely even see it flip vice versa. Because if it was flipped vice versa, the man would relatively be getting $64 an hour. I mean, $64 in child support. He's not getting 20 bands, no matter if he was rich or not.
Ooh, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, Trey. Ooh,
we're gonna get there. Okay. So that leads us into our next part. I'm going to share a video with you guys and then we're gonna discuss it.
Okay.
People break up. They
so normalized that we don't even realize it's a scam anymore.
Child support for active Black dads. But hear me out. Two people get together and have a baby. Those two people break up. They co-parent well together. He is financially providing as much as he can, but he still has to keep a roof over his head, food in his mouth, and a car. Because when the baby comes to visit, the baby needs somewhere to sleep. And when the mama needs me to come and pick the baby up, it's got to get in a car. Okay? So the mother tries to find a way to fill the need. She goes down to DHS and she applies for child care voucher, Families First, 10 Care, only to find out in order to get those assistance or those resources, she has to put this man on child support, although he's doing above and beyond what child support is going to do. He's okay with it. She's okay with it. They go ahead and get this child support order started so she can get the assistance that they both need to take care of this baby, only to have this man trapped into the child support system. So heaven forbid his hours get cut back at work. There is no modification for child support if the change is not more than 30 days. So he gets behind. That means eventually his driver's license is taken. That means when he is racially profiled and pulled over driving, he has no insurance, he has no driver's license, he's got to go to court. There's court costs, there's a financial hardship that is hard to get out of. Or if he's afraid of the justice system, just like a lot of men are, he doesn't go to court. The bench warrant is issued for his arrest, and he's arrested, taking him away from his job and his child. If it goes past that and he's behind in child support more than $1,000 in the state of Tennessee, that's a felony. They will show up at your job, they will show up at your house, they will arrest you, and they will put you in jail until one, either a certain percentage of the arrears is paid, which you don't have, otherwise you would have paid it in the first place, or two, they put you in a work release program. Sounds good, huh? It's not. Because when they put you in the work release program, they take a percentage of your income and send it to child support after they take a percentage of your income and pay it back to the state for your room and board and transportation, because they are housing you while they force you to go to work for a felon approved workplace. You don't even get to keep your job. So if you was making more money at your original job than you are at this felon approved workplace, they make you make less money and they still take out the same amount of child support. And they take out a certain percentage to pay to the state because they are housing you and transporting you, and you are away from your kid, and the mom is still struggling to provide for this child because she's getting less child support than she was in the first place. And now your bond with your child is in jeopardy, and the mother is left to physically and emotionally provide for this child by herself. Sounds like a scam to me.
So normalized that we don't even.
Who would like to go first? I would like to let one of the men go first.
I think she was totally on 100% when it comes to the child support system, and in that circle of what I call a circle of poverty. Because when you take away the ability of a man to take care of his child or his livelihood, you basically putting him back on ground zero. You putting them back into basically going back in the hood, hustling, trying to provide for his child when he already had the means, and you wouldn't allow him to do that. Now, I don't know if I would have voluntarily went down there and signed up for that, being that I was able to help you with the child support. But then again, what am I helping out with? Am I helping out taking care of my child, or am I paying your bills?
Here's the thing, before you go, Trevon, I just want to ad lib in there. He agreed to let her go get the benefits, meaning maybe she was trying to get medical benefits, and because usually that's what it is. She's trying to get medical or she's trying to get something through the state. So when she said he agreed, that just meant he was saying, okay, go ahead and go down there, give him my name, give him my information so that she could try to get what he couldn't provide necessarily. And in that specifically, I think about the Medicaid, the health insurance part. And we don't know, based on her video, we don't know if the guy had benefits, but typically that's one of those reasons, in addition to the cash, as to why he would have agreed to let her do it. Go ahead, Trevon.
No, yeah, I was just saying, like, the thing is, like I said, it goes back to what I was saying previously, as far as, like, depends upon what tax bracket you fall into, determines how being charged, and also determines how many kids you have, which goes into that problem. Because the more kids, the more money they expect. But if the business, the more money they expect, the moment a mother decides to give any excuse on why she needs more money, they're gonna force it out. But if it was the father with custody of the kids and he was asking, "Oh, I need this," all they're gonna throw in your face is, "Why aren't you working hard enough?" And I'm saying that from experience. Like, as a father with 2 kids and I have custody of both of them, it's hard for me to get food stamps because of the type of career I have. And I have that career so I can take care of both my kids. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword at the end of the day. It's like, yeah, you got full custody, you're doing the man route, but you can't do anything with it if you wanted to because they're going to give you the short end of the stick with it.
So my question is, and my comment is to this, all of what she was saying is true, right? I get all of that. My question is, what is the alternative for the mom or whatever to not go down to the agency, right? Let's just say, and I hear y'all, let's just say, why can't the mom go get a job? But to the same steps that she talked about for the man, the mom getting a job, childcare, who's going to watch the kids? Everybody doesn't have grandma and them that can watch the kids. Daycare is expensive, right? Then what about the health insurance? When the kids get sick, how does she pay for the kids to get sick? I mean, if they get sick, to go to the doctor. If the other person, the father, is not providing that insurance where she can use his insurance, even not for her, just to be able to go get the kids when they get sick. So what in y'all opinion, what should the woman do?
So now I know in the state of Nevada, the alternative for medical is Nevada Checkup, and that goes based upon your income. And I don't think they ask for the father's information. It's just going off of the person who is applying what their income in. And that goes from $0 per month. And I believe the last time I should have researched it was max of $50 per month for medical, vision, and it covers dental as well.
Yeah, but you have to be working. In order to get Nevada Checkup, you have to be working. And my point is if she's working, who's watching the kids? If she's not working at a job where she can pay enough to afford childcare, then what does she do?
You have so many women. Okay, let me take that back. From my experience, there's been women that really don't use child support for what it's supposed to. They use it as a lifestyle support.
Okay, so we haven't got to that yet.
We haven't got that. So we're asking
in the video the reasons.
Okay, go ahead, Trey.
I was just when you said with work. The thing with work is this is statistically proven that stay-at-home jobs, as far as call center jobs and things, we have options. So if you can get those jobs and you can keep your kids at home with you and have those jobs, and everyone wants to sit there and make it seem like that's not an option. With that, in today's day and age, that is a huge option. There's a million
if you don't know how
to make money.
Not if you don't have a computer.
What I'm saying is, like I said, there's a million different ways. First off, women have a lot more chances of connecting when it comes to dealing with kids of that nature. First off, if you have kids, the best thing you could do is become a daycare. If you don't have a daycare, become one yourself. You have a higher chance of doing that. As a man, you have to go through and you have to do, like me, for example, I'm an electrician.
I got it. I feel you. That's a good point. Become the daycare. I like that.
And I'm speaking from experience because I actually excuse me, I had my baby mama do that with our kids. She was watching our kids while also being a daycare person, and she was doing daycare from her home.
Okay, so I have an alternative too. Okay, to the daycare problem. And this is from my own experience. Like when the boys were younger, their dad, being an electrician, works during the day. So I worked at night. I got a job that was graveyard, either swing shift or graveyard. So he worked from like 6 o'clock in the morning to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we would meet in the middle between my job and his job, and then we would pass the kids off. So I had, before I left, I didn't already made dinner and stuff. Everything is good to go. And all he had to do was come home sometimes and just make the sides to go with it. And then I would work from anywhere from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. or I would work 7 p.m. to like 7 in the morning. To have to eliminate.
No, in my opinion, both people have to be willing, because that's if you're with the person. If y'all separated, then again, y'all would have to come to that understanding and say and be willing to do that and say, I'm going to do the morning, night. And I just feel like in most cases, the relationship between the parents are not amicable. Therefore, they're not able to come up with an arrangement like that.
Me and my daughter mother, I tried to come up with an arrangement when it came to my daughter, and it was always a no. It was either her way or no way. And it was like if I give her an inch, she want a yard. You know, if I give her a block, if I give her a block, she want a state. And it's like there was no compromise. And it got to a point where that's when that's when it became, she weaponized it. Well, if you don't do it, you don't do it my way, then we go to the courts. We let them decide. Why? We made this child together. Why can't we come to an agreement? Because once you go down that road, there's no going back. And even when I kept trying and trying and trying and trying. And it was like after a month, it was like she wasn't budging. I tried.
So I feel like, and this is a good transition to go into the personal experiences, right? Because I want to kind of touch on something where you were saying there's no way out. Like once you go down that trail, you can't get out. And so we're at the part where we're going to talk about personal experiences. I'm just kind of jumping ahead just so I can get this out. And then again, everybody will get their chance, but personal experience, right? And so I was saying that I come with a bunch of different perspectives. So to stay within my 5 minutes, the first side, I was the baby mama perspective, right? So had my daughter, her and the father, we got along. We kind of had a communication. We had a verbal agreement. So it was verbal. He was just sending the money and everything was fine. Well, things started to change for me. First of all, this is unapologetic and free. So I'm going to be unapologetic. I was bitter. I was the bitter baby mama, and I was not happy that we weren't together, and I didn't like whatever. So when he stopped sending it on the time that I wanted it to, right? So he would pick and choose. Like maybe he was sending it on the 15th, then he would send it here and there. And so again, I got used to getting it. And so I'm like, hey, you can't be sending it whenever you want, right? If this is supposed to take care of your child, then again, I'm using it to take care of your child. So in that bitterness, right, I said, okay, well, since you don't want to do it, I went and put him on child support, right? And so I went down there because I was just trying to establish to get a set time when you were going to send it so I could plan my bills and I can do what I needed to do. And again, it was bitter.
So I'm confused. Were you bitter or were you doing it? Okay.
So part of it was bitterness, right? Because I was mad, but I was bitter and mad because you wasn't sending it at the same time. So again, I'm being honest. So I wanted to control the situation and say when you give me the money. So because he didn't, yes, I was the one that went and put him on child support, and he ended up having to pay more. Because my thing was, is if you could have just, we could have kept the little amount. If you could just send it on the same day, I was cool. But he didn't want to do that. So then I went and put him on child support. It ended up being double the amount that he was paying, right? So for maybe 2, 3, 4 months, right, he was paying that higher amount. So then when he realized, he came back to me. I said, okay, we can work this out. Y'all, I went and took him off of child support. I went down there. I closed the case. I said, stop the child support. They stopped it, right? And they closed it. And we went back to the verbal agreement, right? And he started paying. That's that experience as the baby mama. Now, fast forward, same baby daddy, same child. Now my daughter ends up going to live with him. I was not doing what I was supposed to do. She was living with him full time. So again, now his bitterness kicked in, because I was trying to send him some money because I purposed to be the one. If you have the child full time, then I was trying to send money, but I wasn't able to send enough. But guess what? Now he wants to be bitter, right? Now he wants to say, oh, this is not enough. So he went and put me on child support. He filed custody and went and put me on child support. And he ended up getting sole custody, and I had to pay child support. So again, now tables turn. Now I'm on child support, garnishing my check. And initially, when they put me on child support, I wasn't working. I had lost my job. Here's the other thing. They put my child support order based on the last job that I had, that I wasn't even working at the time they put me on the order. So now I'm not working, and I got this large amount of child support that I wasn't paying. So guess what? Now I have arrears because I wasn't paying. So by the time I finally got a job and started working, here comes the garnishment. They garnished my paycheck. So again, y'all, I had to pay the arrears, plus I had to pay what my monthly court order was. They wouldn't modify it. Even finally, I take that back. After I got to working, I was able to request a modification. I was able to show what my new job was, and they lowered the amount, and then I continued to pay. Once she turned 18 and graduated, I still had to pay my arrears, but I paid my arrears, and then I ended up paying off my arrears. She was off child support, and I have my letter saying that I paid my child support in full. So that is my personal life experience on both sides of that spectrum.
So being that said, that you went through the same thing that most of the middle class men went through, do you kind of see where you could have not started that tug of war?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Definitely. And that's why I disclosed, y'all, I was bitter. In hindsight, going back, I definitely should have redid that, because I never thought, right? Because we don't hear about women being on child support. So I never would have thought in a million years that I would have been on child support, paying it, and then have a garnishment and all of that.
Because if you look nowadays, like I said, nowadays, more men are starting to get their kids. And some women don't see that because they're so used to the one being in control that now that the power has went to the other side, now they're the ones complaining for the same thing that you just put this man through.
That's right.
Because now my personal experience, I have a younger daughter. Me and her mother, you know, I was giving her a set amount each month, like you were. I gave her money before I went to California to visit a friend of mine. My friend of mine lives in California. Somebody went and told her that I was in California. So she calls me that, now mind you, I gave her child support that Friday. I left that Saturday. By that Sunday, I get a text message on my phone telling me that if I don't give her child support by Monday, she's going to make it difficult for, I won't see my child no more. So that's when it started. So we went down to child support court. I continued to give the set amount each month. Now it became, now that you pay this, I'm gonna let you know when you can see your daughter. So it started a trend. It started a trend of when I used to have my daughter. Now it became, now that you won't hear, now you have to wait till I tell you that you can see your daughter. My daughter is almost for to be 5 years old, and no matter what I do, it's like how do you expect me to be a father if I can't be with my child? I don't. First of all, I went through what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to do supervised visits. Okay, I went through every step that they asked me to do for her. But the moment it became, you let her go with him, it became an issue. Now it became, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And it got to a point where the judge basically gave her whatever she wanted. So then when I went back to court to get a modification, the modification that I wanted was I wanted the judge to how can I say that? I wanted him to
look at the parenting agreement.
right, look at the parenting agreement. I wanted him to let her know about the parenting agreement, that it is a voided parenting agreement. So we went to court, and not once did the judge put her in contempt of court
for the violations, right, of whatever she wasn't doing.
Oh yeah, it was, yeah.
Now, was the judge a male or a female?
It was a female. That's why in the court system, most of the judges are biased to the mother. So it's like you're in a situation where you can't win. And it's like the modification, that's all I asked for. I just asked her to enforce the current agreement. Now, if the shoe was on the other foot, do you think they would have did the same? Do you think they would have put me in jail?
Trevon, would you want to say something?
Oh no, I want to make sure he was finished speaking. I was just gonna speak on the opposite end of what you guys are saying, because I'm speaking from someone who got full custody of their kids. And as far as being the father in the position to put the mother on child support, I turned that opportunity down for the simple fact of I wouldn't have got the same compensation that I would have had, that a mother would have gotten. And then if I would have gotten it, I would have had to fight a whole lot harder for it, which then would have had me in the news, and judge would have been dragging me because of the way the world is today. So instead of me seeing that in advance, I just said screw it, and I just was like, oh, excuse my language, I was like, I didn't want to put her on child support. All I wanted was custody of my kids, because the way the world views a man anyway, you have to provide for your children as it is anyway without government assistance. So that's how I looked at it. So I was like, I'd rather just worry about having custody of them and not worry about putting her on child support.
Yeah.
But that's just because I'm the type of person I am. But like you said, if it was vice versa, it would have been difficult. But me being a man, I already seen that. So I was like, instead of going through that headache, I'll just be the man and just provide without it.
Yeah.
Now
And I'm doing all that I can just to still, I'm in my daughter's life as we speak right now. But it's like, I know when it comes to that point where I start asking her for her to come with me, I know it's going to be something else. So I'm kind of crossing my T's and dotting my I's when it's coming to this situation again, because the next time I go to court, I don't want to hear nothing else but, yeah, give him his child. But I know that's not going to happen. But I'm doing the most that I can, because I'm missing out on my child's life.
Now, Trevon, do you regret not doing the child support?
No, I don't. Because like I said, honestly, and especially with seeing everything that's going on in social media and the news right now with the feminist movement and how everything is viewed as far as the man verse or whatever you want to call it, whatever they're calling it
Gender
nowadays.
war.
Yeah, the gender war. There we go. Perfect. The gender
what is
war.
It?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Gender what is it called?
Gender war.
Gender wars. Okay.
Gender war. Yeah, the gender war. It's the fact of everything that I was just basically having anxiety towards and overthinking on is coming true. You've seen men who have been putting women on child support with the backlash that they get in life. You've seen how he said he had a female judge. I was blessed enough to have a male judge. You've seen the better interest for the children and not the interest of a bitter woman who's been hurt or scorned in some way, and she's like, oh, well, I'm going to just get him. Because for some reason, women can do something and they're not categorized in a bunch of all women do this. It's just, oh, that particular woman. But if a one man does something, all men did that. And
That's
it's not
true.
fair looked upon that way in the court system as well. You got, like, for prime example,
Oh,
that's a lot. Like, there's more men in their kids' life than people really know. So in the midst of it is the fact that social media pushes that there's no kids in there's no dads in their kids' life. When actually you got a lot of bitter women who are preventing their dads being in their kids' life. Like what's happening with Trey. How he said he had multiple times he was just trying to avoid letting the child come. I was only allowed to see him on the weekend. And that's because me thinking like a man, I thought, okay, when I leave, let me let the kids stay here so it doesn't shake up their environment too much. And then when I get on my feet, I can have them back and forth. And then she was taking advantage of that and saying where I couldn't see them on weekends at a time.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, my end goal is to have my child. And right now, there's nothing stopping me from coming to that end goal.
Now, for me, my experience is from.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
My experience is I got a divorce in the state of Nevada. There were, actually at the time it was just one minor child that was involved. And so myself and my ex, we came to an agreement, like from the time that we had kids, we had already discussed that nobody is going on child support. Like my thing is, I don't believe in child support. I'm not going to make you take care of your responsibility. Either you do or you don't. If you don't, then eventually the kids will know, but I'm not going to bash you and all this other stuff. So we had agreed, okay, no child support. So we go through the divorce. Well, in the state of Nevada, you have to have a minimum of child support when you're going through a divorce. And so that minimum was $200. So it was $100 per kid. So it was like, okay, so he had agreed, okay, well, we agreed that he would pay $200. Fine. He started off really good and then it just stopped. But I never said anything about it. But it wasn't until we went to court where they were like, okay, no. So then I was like, well, there's really no need because I know what he and I had discussed. So we were like, there's no need for the child support. And so they were like, well, we'll just put it in place. Yeah, the court was like, we're just going to put it for paperwork purposes that he has to pay the minimum, which was $200. So it was like, okay, but I never enforced it. He never enforced it. And
that's how it was when I got divorced too. Like, and again, and maybe it's different now, Trevon, but I know when I got divorced, they made me put a minimum. So even though I didn't want, with my son's father, I didn't want to do any child support. Again, we had a rent, but I had to put the minimum. Now, the only thing I was able to control was it asked if I wanted to do garnishment or not. And so I said no garnishment. Like it just was that minimum that they required us to put down, but I said no garnishment. And again, I never cared. I never asked for him to send it. It was, we were divorced. You live your life. You send what you can. You do what you can, because I didn't want to make that same mistake from my first time with my daughter. I didn't want to do that with my son. And so we continued like that. Right. And then I don't know I really don't know what happened. Only thing I can say is because it was in the divorce on the paper that eventually somehow it turned into a wage garnishment. And again, because I never went and put him on, I never went to court and said, oh, he not give none of that. So I really don't know. So that might be just a systematic thing where because they wasn't receiving it, they turned it into a garnishment. And then every now and then when he would work, I would get these payments. But my ex is gone, he's passed on, but his work wasn't stable. So because it wasn't stable, I never got any real regular payments or every now. And so I never tripped though. I want to say that, like, I never said, oh, why you didn't send it? I left him alone because I just did what I had to do. And when he was able, he did. And I just didn't trip right there.
You said the magic word, system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had to be, because I don't remember.
It's not even about the child anymore. It's all about how much money we can get out of the low income. Because regardless, you know, like I said, I'm a truck driver right now. At the time when I was a tour bus driver, I was making a lot of money. You know, so I was able to pay the $700 that they were asking for. But now that when COVID started and I wasn't making nothing, they still will require me to pay that $700. But I'm looking at them like I'm not working. They don't care.
So I want to transition. I want to show another video because we touched on what child support should be for. And so I want to play another video. It's a really short one. And then we can talk about what should child support really be for. Because I know everybody has opinions about that. So let me pull it up. Oops. Okay, share sound.
Child support is set at $2,300. You're going to do a reimbursement to Medicaid for $276, making your monthly child support payment $2,576. That's how much you gotta pay. No, that's how much you gotta pay. I don't see the celebration. Wait a minute. What happened to the celebration? Because you're the one that's paying that $2,576. The children live with you.
I seen that one. Like I said,
really good when I saw that. Like, what? She gotta pay? And so
like I said, she looked at it as lifestyle payment, not as child support payment. You get too many women out here that go to court and they look for this large amount, looking to sustain a lifestyle. But what about the child? What you want to use? You basically using the money to go out, grab you some weed, grab you some sandals, go out kicking with your girlfriends.
But I don't know, y'all. I know that it's easy to just say that, right? Like she's just, and I know there are women that do that. However, I just want to ask that question, like, what should it be for? So if child support, hold on. If it's child support, right? Because this was one of the things when I was the baby mama, on the baby mama side, it was my ex felt like every dollar that he sent had to go to her only, meaning the clothes or her shoes. But outside of that, there's things like food. What is she going to eat? So why should child support? It's the support of the child. Okay. So if I need to buy groceries, why can't I use the child support to buy groceries? Go.
I interject. So I Googled the purpose of child support is to cover the child's basic needs at a minimum and continues until the child is 18 and graduated from high school, unless the child marries, becomes emancipated, or dies. Basic needs include food, clothing, and shelter.
Okay, now, why shouldn't child support be used to buy your kids food?
What food are you buying?
It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Food is food. I can go get Papados. If that's what's going to feed them, it's food. I'm just asking. Why does it matter what kind of food?
Okay, now the thing is, you got 4 kids. You get child support for 1 child.
Ooh.
Whose child you taking care of?
As long as my child eats, meaning to your point, I got 4 kids. But I use the child support, and let's just say I'm being practical. I go buy a bag of rice. Everybody in my house, your child included, is going to eat some of that rice, whether it was a bag of rice or it was a bowl of rice. So you can't ration out and say, okay, this child support for this child to buy their own food. So I'm supposed to feed them separately from everybody else?
But you're getting child support for your child, not for the other 3.
I get it. I just want you to help me as the mom. getting child support. So in your opinion, then don't use it for food since I can't separate, right? So in your opinion, are you saying then use it for clothes? That way I know that I can just buy that one child clothes, because food, like I said, unless you want me to serve your child something separate from everybody else, then I can't ensure that your money is only going to go to feed your child only.
You got a good point there. I'm not, you got a good point there. But then again, if you're gonna give support for one, why not go for all four?
How do you know?
Well, we don't know. We're just implying. But what the question is, but the question is based upon this, and it's vague. This definition is very vague. The purpose of child support is to cover the child's basic needs at a minimum and continues until the child is 18 and graduated from high school, unless the child marries, becomes emancipated, or dies. Basic needs include food, clothing, and shelter. So you could go down a rabbit hole, because even with that, with the food, let's talk about the shelter. Okay, so then you got 3 other kids. Am I not supposed to use that to pay for shelter because I got 3 other kids?
Or should I divide it in half? I got it. Should I divide it, right? So if I have rent, it's $500 and I have 4 kids, I divide that by 4 and I figure out what just that portion is and only use that portion of your child support to pay for your child's rent. Would that be a fair?
Yes, because I'm paying for my child.
I'm gonna give you that.
If I'm paying child support, I'm sorry. If I'm paying child support, I don't want my money going to no other child in that house, because now I'm enabling
other fathers.
Right, because now you're letting them off the hook, and I'm paying for the other 3. Why?
Trevon, we need to hear from you, sir. We need to know, what do you think child support is for?
I mean, I think child support is strictly for, I feel like it depends upon the age of the child determines what the child support is for. If it's for infants, it's for formula, it's for diapers, it's for things of that nature. If it's for children, it's for schoolwork stuff, it's for clothes, it's for like lunch food, stuff like edibles, snackables, things of that nature, not full-blown meals. That's your food stamp that you get from the government for being a woman. It has nothing to do with you. And people always try to mix that up, but that's not part of it. That's the thing of it. So that's how I think about it.
Thank you. Okay. Again, like I said, I've been on both sides. And so again, we could go down a rabbit hole, right, of what, but I just wanted to hear the opinion of really what y'all think it's for, right? And just to kind of understand how that looks when we say only for this child, because I've been in situations where, again, to your point, my child's father was sending and there were other kids in the house, and I had to make those decisions on what was going, how to have those conversations to say this was sent by her father or this was sent by his dad and this is to be used for her, and to be able to explain that it's not favoritism, that it's her father having a right to send her what he wants her to have specifically, and that has nothing to do with the other children. But I was able to have that conversation and be able to explain that, so I could keep that money separate.
Yeah, because the thing is, what I've noticed out here, you have a lot of men that are taking care of their child, but you got some women that get mad at them for taking care of their child. Why are you getting mad at this man for being what he's supposed to do, take care of his child? And because of he's taking care of his child, now you're getting mad because you feel like that he's supposed to take care of the other kids. Just because he's financially well off, then that's something that he worked towards. Now, what about the other father? Are you holding them accountable for what they're not doing? No.
Well, we don't know. So
but 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, you have some women out here that mess with Pookies and Ray Rays, and then they'll find that good man and have that good man with that good job. She gonna go after him.
Now, Lekia, I'm sorry, need to interject. You've talked about it from both sides, but there's another aspect that you didn't touch on when you used to be.
Yes. So I used to be the welfare worker. So I used to be the one that the people were coming in, and when they were applying for benefits, depending on what benefits they were receiving. So if they were asking and applying for the cash assistance, then I'm that one because it was required. So my job is required, right? And so I was the one having those conversations like, okay, we need the name of the father in order for you to get this. It is a requirement, right? And so as the worker, my job was on the line to retrieve that information and to let them know this is a part of the program and you have to fill this information out. Now, some of the things I used to do or try to do was say, okay, do you know who he is? Do you know his name? Like, tell me the situation behind it. And so sometimes they would come in and they would say, oh, well, I don't know. And I would say, well, how do you not know? Like, explain the situation to me. Like, oh, well, I was at a party, I was drunk, right? And so everybody would come in with that same story. And we already knew most of the time is because why? They want the benefits, but they don't want to disclose the name of the father, right? And so, I mean, that was part of the job. And I didn't.
Now, to interject that, now, being that that's part of your job, do you think that they should have put in a part of the job as apart from your job? Do you think they should have required a DNA test?
Ooh.
Now,
because you have some women, that would come in there just to name a name and ruin that man's life.
So I can't speak for every state. So where I worked in the state of Nevada, they do have that option. So like once you put them on child support and they start that process, when they go to court, the father is supposed to say whether he wants the DNA test or not. Like they would give them the option if they found them, because that's the thing too. First of all, you just putting the name on a piece of paper. We would send it to the child support. Child support would do their investigation and they would say, okay, are you, that's where you go to court. And they would ask, are you the father? Now, if the father said yes, and they don't want no DNA test, that's on them. They chose not to have, I'm just saying in the state of Nevada, when I was, they chose not to. But if the option is there, then yes, the man should get the DNA test.
Now,
I think so.
Being that I am from the state of Nevada, I was put on child support for a signature that wasn't my signature.
Was it on a birth certificate or was it on another form or something?
It was on a birth certificate that I never signed.
Okay. And so that's the other thing I was going to say. Like if the name is on the birth certificate, then again, and to your point, and just hear me out, how do they know you didn't sign? All they know is what the signature is on the birth certificate. And that's right. I'm saying, but why would they care? Because who's going to go down that rabbit hole? Everybody would say that somebody signed their name if that was the case.
When I went to court and I asked the judge to see my license of how that signature was signed, and I asked for a DNA test, the judge told me, no, we're going to use this signature.
Yeah. And that's true. And again,
so to this day, I've been paying child support for a child we have no DNA test for.
And she won't do it on her own? You haven't tried to do one like, just do it outside of the court just so you would know?
Even when I did it outside the court told me that they couldn't use it.
So the one you got outside of the court said you weren't the father?
I tried. Okay.
No, answer the question. The one that you got outside of the court, did it say you were not the father?
We never did a test.
Wait, I thought you
I thought you said the one you tried to get, they wouldn't accept it.
I did that when he was 9, and they wouldn't accept it because it wasn't a court appointed DNA test.
But what did the results say?
My results came back 0.00%.
Oh, okay. That you were not the father.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
But to this day, I'm still paying child. He's now 14 years old. I done got to a point where I'm just saying, you know what, forget it.
Just let him ride it out, right?
Now the thing is, we subpoenaed her to go to court 4 times for a DNA test, and she not showed up for near one of them. So why is it that they didn't scratch the child support
order?
Right.
So that goes
about
back
money.
to system. I mean, only thing we can say with that is the system. Yeah. So I think that we've had a really good conversation. It's been
think so too.
Like it's been a long one. This was really good. I'm grateful for you all coming on and being willing to share your stories and just give your perspective on this whole child support. Again, we could be here all day. We can have all these what ifs and what abouts, and and every situation is different. Every state is different. Every case is different. No two cases are the same. And it just really is unfortunate, right, that things happen the way they happen. So
yes. All right. Thank you so much. Do you have anything to say, Trevon?
No, I got everything I had to say.
JLP Pleasing Barbecue Sauce is a proud sponsor of Unapologetic and Free. JLP Pleasing Barbecue Sauce offers 14 flavors ranging from mild to hot, hot, hot. They also offer sugar-free options. They've got 5 keto-friendly sugar-free options. Visit them online at www.jpsoulfoodkitchen.com. Again, that's www.jpsoulfoodkitchen.com.